Hello, hello, welcome back. My name is Jack, the moist Australian that smiles back. Yeah, good to put on a proper skincare today. Whoops, let's get started.
Am I the a-hole for leaving my father's wife out of girls' night? I'm a 28-year-old female. My dad is married to one of my high school classmates. Let's call her Andy. It's not as weird as it could be. We were part of the same friend group in school, but not all that close. I didn't see her much after graduation because we went to college in different states. I'm not 100% sure how the relationship with my dad started since they live in that other state and I don't, but they're both adults, both actually seem really happy, and I generally try to mind my own business when it comes to my relatives' love lives, so we've all got on pretty well. I think our relationship is usually as good as anyone is ever going to have with the same age step-parent. But they're visiting here for a month, and I mentioned to Andy that I was going to be meeting up with two other friends from high school who I'm still close with. She got really excited and assumed she was being invited to join us, but when the three of us get together, things tend to get a bit raunchy. We drink a lot, talk about our intimate lives a lot, and get pretty graphic about the people we're seeing and the stuff we do with them. It's not the most mature, I know, but it's a fun throwback to high school and college, and we enjoy it. So I said that all things considered, it might be best if she didn't come, and explained why. I don't want her to feel like she can't participate in the conversation, but I also really don't want to hear this kind of stuff where the guy involved is my own father, and I also don't want my father's wife knowing all about my own intimate life. She got very quiet and then suggested that maybe we wouldn't have to talk about this kind of stuff, but that's pretty much how the conversations always go when these other friends and booze are involved. And not talking about it would feel like there was just an elephant in the room. I ended up offering to arrange a lunch with the other girls at some point during the visit, and she agreed. But since then, Andy has been a lot slower to respond to my texts and seems less eager to hang out. She also didn't like my posts about the girls' night, and we always like each other's posts. I feel like I could have handled this better, but I also feel like I'm not wrong for acknowledging that her role in my life is different than it used to be, and that means new boundaries. Am I the a-hole? Biggest Support says, oof, no a-holes here. You're right that your relationship with her has changed. I don't think anyone would blame you for not wanting to hear about your father's intimate life with this woman and not wanting his wife to know about yours. It sounds like you handled it well enough. Not sure what more you could have done. All your options sucked. Yeah, look, it's not the most dramatic issue to talk about on the internet, but I gotta say, I'ma think to call you the a-hole. Reason being, okay, so you talk about intimate stuff together, but you're worried that she, as your now possible stepmom, is going to know about your intimate life. Doesn't she already know based on your history of having these nights out? Also, considering you seem to already have a good established relationship with them, I'm sure they have the common sense and respect not to talk about how she gets down with the dirty with your dad. No matter how much booze can affect you, unless you just, if you are so heavily influenced by alcohol that you can't control yourself when it comes to having a few drinks, then you shouldn't be drinking alcohol. And I feel for you to gatekeep this person just because you're afraid of they're gonna say things that, you're shocked to know that your dad does the sex? I just feel like you should have given her a chance at least. So like this bottom one is the most downvoted, but I mean, it's a good point. Guitar, basic etiquette is not to talk about parties and events with people who aren't invited. Bad form on your part, it's like you brought it up just to make her feel excluded. Also, it's really not a great look that you all can't control yourselves enough to not go TMI every time you get together. Makes me wonder what people around you are subjected to when you're drunk and rowdy at the bar or whatever. Now, of course, we can play to the factor that they are just a bunch of friends having a, private moment together. Of course, they're probably more inclined to be rowdy when it's just them. But I don't know. Still, how far do you get that excuse of, oh, we just get a bit rowdy when we're drunk, and I don't trust this person to not hold themselves accountable. Now, it turns out people are suspicious this is a copy and paste. Interestingly enough, there is a similar story from a few months back that we can have a little peer review of. Just a strange example of an older dad using his daughter as a babysitter for his girlfriend. My father, who's a 55-year-old male, started seeing Kelly, who's 25 female, recently. Kelly and I attended high school, but never socialized. My parents divorced a year ago, and I found out from social media. Great family communication right there. My father has been trying to get my brother, who's 23, and I to invite Kelly to our activities. He will ask us what we are doing and then ask if Kelly can be invited. Example, we were celebrating my friend's birthday dinner, and my father dropped Kelly off at my apartment and insisted that I take her with me. The dinner was very awkward, but my friends did their best and were very nice to Kelly. Kelly spent the entire dinner complaining about having to be there and kept asking if we could leave. My friends booked a nice weekend for a weekend getaway and had everything planned. We booked a room big enough for 4 people. My father reaches out to me asking what I was doing this weekend, and I told him that I was going to visit a friend. Stop telling him what you're doing! My friends posts a picture of us on social media, and my father texts me asking why I didn't invite Kelly on the trip. I text back saying maybe because none of us wanted her to come. I tried to reach out to my father to apologize, but he won't answer any of my texts or calls. Kelly has texted me saying that I hurt her feelings and my father's. So am I the a-hole for not inviting my father's new girlfriend on a trip with my friends? Consensus saying, Nita, your father needs to stop setting up play dates for his girlfriend. Yes, apparently Daddy Dearest has nothing in common with his new fling and expects his kids to entertain his playmate. Maybe OP could demand $10 an hour and a free run of the snack cupboard. Oh, not the a-hole. I say OP should invite Kelly to one of her hangouts, but halfway through, ditch her female friends and introduce Kelly to several hot, fun guys who are actually her age. Maybe then her dad will stop asking for her to come along. Oh god, I just realized OP's dad probably saw his future girlfriend as a child in school at parents' evenings, etc. Yeah, well, that's... oh, gosh. Let's move on to a story that's, fricked up in a different way. This one fricking up because they helped their neighbor fix their computer. This just happened 10 minutes ago, and I'm in complete shock. For context, I live in a duplex next to a couple, 70-year-old male and a 35-year-old woman. The woman next door is a bit off, like, she doesn't get the social cues when I want to just go inside and stop talking. So today, I get a ring at my doorbell while I'm on the phone with my insurance, and I ignore it so I can finish the call. My doorbell rings 3 more times while I'm on the phone, and so when I'm finally done, I go to see who the duckhead is outside of my apartment, and it's my own woman neighbor. She can't get her Chromebook screen to go back to normal, and it's flipped. I reluctantly invite her in and wait for her to log into her account so I can go into the settings to fix it. She rips a fart that I would have only ever expected someone's John Cena-sized to be able to expel, and proudly says, "Excuse me." This takes 30 minutes. 30 minutes. When she finally gets logged into the laptop, it takes me less than a minute to fix it, so I'd assume she'd leave. She doesn't. She sits there and keeps talking about random things for about another 20 minutes before I tell her I'm going to take a nap. Then she gets up to leave and I see the spot instantly. There's a big, wet spot on my couch exactly where she was sitting. I don't say anything until she leaves, but as soon as she does, I, unfortunately, do a sniff test. I then run to the sink and throw up a whole box of Girl Scout cookies that I ate for lunch. She peed on my couch, and her pee smelled like fermented cat urine. I have since applied as much cleaner as I own onto the wet spot and am now waiting for it to dry. The couch cushion will be getting flipped over, and I will hopefully never have to think of this ever again. I have been farting for 30 minutes! Thankfully, the comments are offering all the help they can. Wait, doesn't vinegar and baking soda make volcanoes? Make a volcano to fight a volcano. Let's get a little bit away from the fricked up side and more to the ridiculous. I'm a 36-year-old male. My ex, who's 34 female, wants me to take my son's half-siblings on vacation. My ex and I share custody of my son. He's with me on the weekdays and with her on the weekends. My ex is remarried and has 3 children with her current partner. They aren't well financially, and it's coming to the point of collecting food stamps. I have already filed for full custody and hopefully get it. Now, I do well for myself. I love to spoil my son. Private school, new clothes, vacations, and more. Anyway, as the pandemic is clearing up, I plan on taking my son on vacation. I was planning on taking him to Hawaii. My ex is saying that her children always feel left out because my son has better things than they have. Frankly, I don't see the issue since he's only there 2 days a week. Anyway, she wants me to take her 3 kids to Hawaii as well. I think she's crazy. My son isn't particularly close to them. When I picked him this week, the 3 kids and her husband thanked me for willing to take them to Hawaii. What do I tell them? It's a very convoluted issue. So you gotta, be a bit, gentle with the approach. State your case as caringly to their situation as possible, but then say screw that to that idea and just be blunt. Absolutely not.
Oh, I was about to comment absolutely freaking not, but you politely and swiftly beat me to it.
I mean, as this comment highlights here, that is clearly just a very suggestible case of her trying to use this as a way to trigger a excuse to emotionally manipulate your son. Make him feel guilty for the way he's treating his family. How dare you, as a father of him specifically, not pay for all these free flights and vacation trips that, get a better job. God, I know that's such a stupid argument, but still. Now, some have the thought to say, well, look, I mean, it's a pretty big experience, something these siblings are most likely never going to get the chance to experience. If you can afford it, why not just give a little treat? And, okay, yeah, sure, if you wanted to develop an actual relationship and, the family-based relationship with these other half-siblings, you go right ahead. But I don't think you need to pay for a trip to bloody Hawaii to achieve that. Shout them all a game of laser tag. Take them to the movies with your son. That kind of stuff is all you need to achieve. You don't need a whole flight to another country. I'm confident to say this is just the mother trying to leech your wealth. But if you have any other thoughts that might be different to that one, feel free to let me know below. Now we move on to a story that might contest some people in the comments. But regardless, I think it's an experience that people should be aware of. And yeah, it's an unfortunate case of when it's essentially an expose of the horrible experience pregnant mothers can go through in the hospitals. My wife, who's 26 female, gave birth a couple months ago. We started out at home as we wanted to avoid the hospital. We had a private midwife. However, things went wrong, she was transferred and things became horrible. She was given an IV. Soon, it hurt enough that she asked if she could get pain relief. Was told to wait because the anesthesiologist, the person who gives her that stuff, was having lunch. Hours dragged on and nobody came to help. She was dismissed, disrespected. The doctor came to check her, and she begged to wait for the contraction to end. He ignored her, so I physically put myself in the way and told him to wait as she asked. He said, "Girls like you always exaggerate everything." Again said, "Wait for the anesthetic." I ran around the hospital. I yelled at people. I begged. It dragged on, and nothing. There were scratch marks on the wall where my wife had clawed at it. I'd have given anything to suffer instead of her. At one point, she attempted to take her own life to escape the pain. I found her trying to climb out of the window to jump. I finally found another doctor that managed to help and got my wife some relief. In the end, things escalated even more, and something even more horrible happened. It was medieval. It was the only time anyone did anything was when the baby was in danger, and again, my wife didn't matter. I ended up saying, "I don't care about the baby. Help my wife." Anesthesiologist came at the end. She was kind. At the end of all this, I threw up in the corridor of the hospital. The cruelty, the blood, my wife fighting, screaming to let her die, yelling, "No, I don't agree to this. It hurts. Put me out. Please, I would do it for you." "No," said the doctor. "You're just overreacting." My wife hasn't spoken since. She has stayed silent. She wouldn't respond to anything. The baby was in intensive care. I didn't go to see it. I wouldn't leave her side. I sat there stroking her hair. When I told the other doctor about what happened, they apologized, said there would be consequences. I never trust such assurances, but at least he wasn't a psychopath. Little later, my wife started writing to communicate. She wrote that she didn't want the baby, that she'd rather it be adopted. She couldn't love it, because no matter how much she realized it wasn't its fault, it was put in priority before her, and she was treated with no regard to what harm was caused her. She said if I wanted to keep it, she would help financially. We already had a planned night nanny, and she said anything else we needed, but that we divorce. Baby deserved family that loved them, and she couldn't be that. I was shocked at first, but then I realized I felt the same way. My family were judgmental. My mother asked to come talk to my wife. I said no. My parents were both angry, and I lost it. Said if they had seen what I had seen, they wouldn't say that. That I felt no love for the baby either. Looking at it all, I could think of was just my wife screaming. I decided to stay with my wife and let the baby be adopted. I love her. I just needed to talk about it. Yeah, it's a story where there's not really much else to say, but just to digest that horrifying experience. And okay, apparently girls like her always exaggerate everything. If this is true, then you've got a clear-cut case of medical malpractice on your hands. And yes, I mean, they're a doctor. Surely they'd be aware of the fact that everyone's pain tolerances can vary, but there are also some cases where people just have extreme pain with this kind of thing. Pregnancy isn't it's not a walk in the park. I mean, even a doctor should be aware of that. Even if you're a doctor that's been doing this kind of thing for years, surely you'd come across enough cases to know that this is just so varied, and there are going to be people who are experiencing the extremity of the pain. I mean, the fact is, there are many females out there. God, I hate saying that. It just sounds like I'm an incel. But there are many females out there, women, people who just can get pregnant, that just genetically, biologically, aren't able to have a safe pregnancy without medical intervention. And they shouldn't be ashamed of that, but they should also be considered and acknowledge that, yeah, look, not everyone can actually safely have a child. I don't know, just the fact that a doctor wouldn't even comprehend this, or they probably do comprehend it, but they've just seen it so much that they just don't care anymore. And if you don't care about your patients, then, well, you probably shouldn't be a doctor anymore. Now, on the note of using the word female instead of woman, because, God, how does this person even have a girlfriend to say this? Am I the a-hole for playing video games when my girlfriend tries to sleep? I'm a 25 male. My girlfriend, who's 23, and I have been dating for 5 months now. I'm completely in love with her and everything about her. Unlike most women I've tried dating, she's real and always supports my dreams. We met when I was on a break from my current ex-boyfriend, 22 male, who she helped me see was incredibly toxic and abusive towards me. I won't lie, I've not been the best boyfriend at the beginning of our relationship when she finally agreed to go out with me after a month of asking, but I've honestly changed because she means the world to me. If you need further detail, I can edit in later for answer in the comments. At the beginning, we were just friends at first, as she did not want to get involved in any relationship drama due to the fact that she's currently prepping for her final court date. She's fighting her mum for custody of her younger brother, who just turned 2, because her mum does nothing but abuse the younger brother. Now keep in mind, I completely support her. Well, it took my girlfriend 5 months, but she finally got 2-day overnight visitations through the court systems, which happen on Mondays and Tuesdays, as these are my girlfriend's days off. When her brother came over this week, however, he gave my girlfriend COVID, though I was fortunate enough to stay negative. But now we're all in isolation. His mother refused to take him back until he was cured, as she didn't want to deal with an annoying child who could get her sick. And sick children are too much work. But my girlfriend already began happily taking care of her brother and trying to nurture him back to his full health, while also cooking and cleaning up around the house that she lives in. When her brother is finally sleeping, I always go online and play my games upstairs so the little one won't hear me. It goes on until 5 AM sometimes, and my girlfriend has mentioned it bothers her because she can barely sleep properly with all the noise in her room. She also said she doesn't like me being up so late because she doesn't want a grumpy, sleep-deprived boyfriend when her brother wakes up early and gets us out of bed. But I don't see how it is my problem. It's her brother, and I can just get up and start my day later because I never asked for the responsibility of caring for a child I didn't make. So I continued my gaming, and she slept on the couch after asking me to turn it off at 4 AM. So, am I the a-hole Reddit? I should note, I have headphones in all night and the TV is on mute, so the only noise she hears is when I talk to my buddies when we play together. A bunch more edits. It's a small 2-bedroom house with the living room being right next to her 2-year-old brother's room, so if I were to move to the living room, it would wake him up and she would have to put him down all over again. We don't live together and I don't pay rent. I just visit a lot when I'm off of work. I'm on a 2-week on-off rotations, and I do support her choice to have her brother full-time. I just mentioned that I could wake up later and start my day later as well. I don't need to be up at 7 AM just because she is. And in case you're wondering where all the female words were, they did have to quickly edit them because they realized how stupid they were sounding. So a few things I want to mention here. So, okay, grumpy sleep-deprived boyfriend, that's more of a him issue. I wouldn't say that's a valid argument for her to make as to why he should stop playing, but more so a reason as to why he shouldn't be a grumpy sleep-deprived boyfriend. He has no excuse to convey that onto her because he's the one doing it to himself. Like, he has no one to be grumpy at but himself, so suck it up, buttercup. But also, okay, you don't need to be up at 7 AM just because she is. but clearly you guys need to have a more in-sync circadian rhythm. That's the right word. I mean, you're saying in the story you've got no other commitments other than having to just be in isolation with them. Why not be gaming in the most beneficial time frame that she is? Like, I don't think you realize how much your argument here backfires on you. If you were someone who maybe worked throughout the day so much that this time of the night was literally your only chance to wind down, okay, there could be something there to discuss. But when you're playing games when you have to be constantly talking to teammates and stuff in the same room as your partner who's trying to get her rest because she has to take care of a bloody baby, I mean, how do you expect to not come across as an a-hole here? Top comment does say a lot of things, but I mean, the main point is really just when you negatively impact someone's sleep during normal sleep hours, you are always an a-hole.
Sleep is holy.
I mean, there are other arguments I feel are more technical things anyway. Also, I don't think you really realize just how loud you can get when you wear headphones on. Like, you're not aware of your own decibel level when your ears are muted. I don't know, like, I'm all for my fellow lads enjoying their wind down time. I think we should be absolutely respected that gaming is not just some childish thing, it's a genuine hobby and joy that anyone in a relationship has the right to experience and have fun doing. But she's not trying to say you're not allowed to play video games anymore. She's just asking you play it at a more appropriate time and not disrupting other people in the house when they're trying to get their rest. That is the end of today's video. Thank you as always for watching.
Thanks for reaching the end. You're amazing. You should like this video to show me that you're here and I know you exist.
Always fun having you.
Emily, say bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. And we'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta.